The next part of our program is we're going to have a conversation with a couple of our board members. Walton's a private company, family owned and operated, as you all know. About 3 years ago, my father passed away, the patriarch of the family and the family business. And about a year ago, my mother's health was ailing, and she passed away. She actually passed away 10 months ago today, interestingly enough. And as a part of that, you start to, you get older and you start to reflect and you start thinking about your own mortality and whatnot. I'm not trying to be glum or anything along those lines, but, with Shane joining the company and Katie joining the company, you start thinking about the next generation. And the next generation just isn't about the Doherty family. It's about everybody that's a part of the Walton group of companies, whether they're employed at Walton or our partners in business. And a part of that succession planning is we need someone that we need to answer to. So, went out to set up a board of advisors that had come in, talk to us about succession, structure, and a group of individuals that we could answer to and they could mentor us. The first person I approached was a gentleman by the name of Neil Nervison. I've known Neil for about 8 years. Neil, if you want to come on up. Neil's a former partner, senior partner of Ernst & Young out of Canada. He is my mentor. I talk to Neil about 4 or 5 times a week, and he's provided me great guidance, and everybody at Walton great guidance as well. And he is the chairman of our board of advisors. Okay. Another gentleman, the second call I made was a former employee of the Walton group of companies. And he was our executive vice president of law for about 7 or 8 years, maybe even 10 years, until the time that he left. Wayne Souza, want to come up, Wayne? Wayne Souza, I've known for about 17, 18 years ago. He is the sweetest, kindest person you're ever going to meet. And he's brilliant as well. Has given me great advice in the past and continues to do so to this day, and is also a great guide and mentor to everybody at Walton. So thank you, Wayne, and thank you, Neil.
Let's go.
All right. So before we get started, maybe, Neil, you can just talk a little bit about yourself, and then Wayne, you can do the same.
Sure. Thank you, Bill. Good morning, everyone. My background is 35 years in transactions. I spent 23 of those years as a partner with a Big Four accounting firm. 20 years of that was with Ernst & Young. I led the national practice with Ernst & Young for 5 years. Met Bill 2017 and was brought in as financial advisor with Bill at the time. And then I eventually became the CFO of Walton for about just under 2 years. And then I actually went back to Ernst & Young to run the national practice. So lots of transactional business-generated experience. And when Bill approached me, I was flattered to be asked to take this role. Bill's a good friend of mine, and we've been able to put together a really deep, experienced board of advisors, and it's really been enjoyable as we've developed the advisors. They're all here. Us two on stage, but the rest of the advisors are here at the conference, which is fantastic. So please try to find them, talk to us. We're happy to talk to you about Walton.
Thank you, Neil. Wayne?
I am the oldest one on this stage. Make no mistake about it. I was born in Washington, D.C., raised there and live there now. I started practicing law when I was 24 years old. And after about 40-some years of practicing law, I gave it up. But during that time, I was in-house general counsel, as Bill mentioned, and executive vice president of law of the Walton Group of Companies. I was responsible for the U.S. legal affairs for the company, and I worked closely with my colleagues in Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong, and Singapore to the extent to which their operations impacted U.S. law. In retirement, I ended up partnering with a fellow, and we established a specialty retail company, which now is one of the 10th largest of its kind in the United States. And just this year, we sold a minority interest in the company to the largest player in the world in our space out of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. I still continue as CEO of that company. Also in retirement, I started a business that was in the aviation industry, in the aviation space. And also in retirement, I co-founded a company that is involved in the international motorsports, MotoGP, Grand Prix, motorcycle racing. And I also serve as a member of the Board of Trustees of a university in America. My wife, who I'm fortunate to have here with me today, will be the first one to tell you that I have failed in my retirement.
That's good. That's good to hear. That's awesome. Hey, everybody, I'm going to get things started by asking a few questions. Don't forget, you can go to your QR code, and you're able to type in questions if you're too shy to take the microphone and ask directly. And we are going to have my colleagues in the audience who are going to have microphones. So during this session, if you have any questions, it's open mic. Let's go for it. So I'm going to get things started here. Was thinking about this over the last couple of days. And, Neil, we'll start with you. From your perspective on the board and being the founding board member, what stands out as the most meaningful strategic inflection point for Walton over the past year?
Sure. Well, obviously, I'm going to say the establishment of the Board of Advisors, but it was, I think, a change, a very positive change that the Doherty family implemented. And as we worked over the year and put the board together, I think we've got a great group of people from all over the world that are on the board with all different types of experiences. So I think that was a great strategic inflection point in my view. I think there's others, though, that are also equally important. As you heard Bill and Katie talking about the Walton products, the income style products that give you both a coupon and then give you the upside of the pre-development land as the Walton team with their great experience moves it to through the entitlement process. I think that's been a really strong strategic move, and it's really in the various jurisdictions really delivering what the clients or investors want. I also say, and they didn't really touch on it at the start, but Walton is moving to be regulated in all the jurisdictions it operates in already. Certain ones are already fully regulated, and other ones will be coming on imminently, Japan or in the Middle East. And that, I think that's really important. It dovetails well with the Board of Advisors and the governance. And then I would lastly say is, they did touch on this, is it's impressive as we've been on the Board of Advisors to see the deepening of the relationships with key strategic partners, whether it's D.R. Horton that you heard a lot about, Lennar, the second biggest, but there's more than that. There's relationships they're building with key developers in key regions, and the one that Bill just brought up at our board meeting yesterday was developing a deep national relationship with Atwell, the engineering firm in the United States. They've really developed a relationship with that engineering firm that allows simple things, but speed of processing diligence. If you have your outside advisors able to work with you, understand, as Bill said, working with both having goals and understanding the goals, it's been a great relationship to see. So those are some of the points, Bill. There's more. You went through some of the other ones, but I'll stop there.
Okay, good. Wayne, Walton's strength has always been its long-term approach to land as an asset class. How do you see that aligning with investor demand for shorter-term liquidity and yield?
I think that the Walton products that provide a current income stream are a market departure from the products that have historically been offered by the company. And I think this is a very, very significant move. I think that addresses that issue pretty well.
Okay, very good. All right, either one of you could take this. What do you see as Walton's most important strategic differentiator in today's market? You know, particularly as investors reassess their exposure to real estate. You know, in light of the current macroeconomic interest rates, investor sentiment, capital flows, how do you see these factors shaping up in terms of strategic priorities over the next year, 2 years?
Do you want me to take that? You can take it. The U.S. economy has many drivers. Two, however, which are pretty predominant, are consumer spending and home building industry. Walton, as you've heard already this morning, has significant strategic relationships with one of those sectors, the home building sector. If you take Walton's historic expertise over the last 35 plus years of identifying, acquiring, managing, and entitling real estate, we can, as a result of those two things, deal in a key component of the U.S. economy, and our products that we offer in that regard, in my judgment, can clearly perform as expected. Now, on the macroeconomic side of things, I think we've seen in the United States a softening of interest rates, for example. The U.S. Federal Reserve has lowered the benchmark rate already twice this year. There are good bets in which I happen to agree that there'll be some more softening between now and the end of next year for sure. I think you take the U.S.'s onsourcing of many industries now being led by the current U.S. political administration to onsource to U.S. soil, manufacturing, steel, and things of that nature, chip making. I think you take a look at the other components of that industry. For example, the current administration is shoring up some of its relationships with some of its world trade partners. I've read the agreement, the memorandum of agreement that was executed just within the last month between the United States and Thailand. I thought it was mutually beneficial. I've spoken with one of my colleagues on the board who's from Malaysia. He too has read that same memorandum between the United States and Malaysia. So I think all of these things tend to support the proposition that the US economy is probably in for a good, healthy run for the next couple of years. But the most important thing going into what you were saying with the data centers and AI is that many major US global players have started to right-size their employee pools. Amazon, for example, just within the last 2 weeks, downsized 30,000 of their employees worldwide. UPS, United Parcel Service, downsized 40,000 of their employees worldwide. If you add up the list of the US global companies who have recently downsized, you get to about 200,000 jobs. Now, they're not doing this for any reason in my judgment, other than to deploy that capital toward the AI emphasis. And when you couple America as a leader, one of the world leaders in AI, and you couple those other things I was talking about, interest rates, onsourcing, et cetera, I really do believe that the American economy is in for a really good run over the next couple of years. And as I was talking to someone just before I took the stage, his comment to me was, you know, the saying is, you never bet against the U.S. economy. And I happen to believe that as well.
I would just add, from a Walton perspective also, in working primarily in the U.S. economy, one of the advantages, and you could call it a defensive strategy, but Walton has a national platform, and as Katie had mentioned, working in 32 of the different states. Because of that national platform, it has a national relationship with D.R. Horton, a national relationship with Lennar, and Atwell, same thing. They're a national engineering firm, Walton's national. Being diverse and having a footprint like that is a very good strategy. So if there are certain soft pockets within the U.S. economy, Walton is not overly concentrated to any of those, and is in partnership with the bigger builders that have, if you can look historically at their financial performance, who have worked well through any kind of economic headwinds. So I think it's a great strategy for Walton's positioning.
So we're over here in Thailand. You turn on the news, be it BBC, CNN, and whatnot, and you got the government shutdown, and you got this. What it seems like if they had guns, they'd have a duel between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And so when we're over here, we hear all this noise, and it looks like utter chaos. What's it really like back home in the United States, and how are people actually dealing with what's going on in D.C.?
DC has historically, in my view, been a recession-proof world capital. It is no longer a recession-proof world capital. The current economic atmosphere and discussions between the two political parties have made it a different place. Tammy and I, my wife and I, were out for dinner in Georgetown just before we came over here. And for the first time in my life since 1969, when I was a kid in Washington, D.C., we saw military with rifles in Georgetown. Now, you're not going to see military with rifles in Georgetown, even in the '69 riots. But they were there in Georgetown now. It is a very different feel, a very different place. It is experiencing the economic downturn associated with the political upheaval. And of course, now we've entered into the longest government shutdown in American history. But having said that, there's going to be lumpiness no matter which road you travel down. You can't walk down a road without creating some friction. The only way you don't create friction is just to stand on the corner and not move. So this is, in my opinion, the natural evolution of things going on now, and I think it's going to be fine. We're going to be fine. We'll get through this.
Okay, good. Let's talk about governance and leadership. The company has strengthened governance and procedural rigor across acquisitions, divestitures, and fund operations. From the board's perspective, how have these changes advanced long-term credibility and performance?
It definitely advances it on a variety of fronts. For example, you're looking to a new investor with Walton. You're trying to understand the governance model of Walton, what kind of diligence is done on acquisitions, what kind of procedures are being followed, who's on investment committees. All of that is very rigorous within Walton and strengthened over the past years, which is really well received as people are doing that deep dive diligence on the company. Putting the board of advisors in place, for example, brings extra rigor to the executive team to look at how they're reporting the information of the company and really trying to then distill that information to give to the board as well to the executive team to make strategic decisions in a timely basis. So those are ways that help, but then that cascades out to your key partners who see that extra rigor. Of course, the financial and accounting folks have to deal with more audits as part of the regulated environment, which puts that additional reporting requirement, which again, Walton has responded to streamlining, trying to quickly adapt AI into those models to be efficient in the additional reporting that comes with regulated and audits and those types of things. So it's really across the board that Walton has strengthened, and then as I said, it just permeates out to the investors see it, the key business partners see it, and it's really well received.
Yeah, I agree with Neil. It creates a level of confidence. That level of confidence including with our external business partners, that level of confidence creates relationships because you feel comfortable with whom you're dealing. Those relationships create business opportunities, and the business opportunities benefit, the Walton group of companies, the investors, the advisors, and across the whole platform. So I think I think that rigor is good. I think it also can create some efficiencies over time. And as we all know, the more efficiently one can operate, the more likely one is to have good financial results. So I think it can impact beneficially on the financial side as well.
Okay, good. Well, I'm gonna ask one more question, and then we'll go to questions in the audience. And this is for each one of you, and I'll let you both answer. I'll start with you, Wayne. What lessons from your own leadership experience would you share with the next generation of leaders within this organization, in fact, with everybody in the audience?
Don't. No, I'm just kidding. That's a great question. I have always tried to live my business life based on a three-legged stool. The first leg is dream big. The second leg is work hard. The third leg is stay humble. Now, on the dream big, I always use the phrase, if you want to sail tall ships, you got to go into deep water. So as a leader, you can't stand on the dock. You have to lead your team into deep water. You have to know where your company is now, but you have to be always thinking about where your company is going to be next. And I personally think that Bill, based on all the years we have worked together, I think Bill is one of the most amazing people at thinking about not where as Wayne Gretzky said, not where the puck is, but where the puck's going to be. And I'm going to skate to where the puck is, and that's how I'm going to score. On the work hard thing, I've always been of the opinion there's absolutely no substitute for hard work, except that opinion has recently changed with AI. And I think as a leader, you not only have to work hard, because it's the one thing you can control. You can't necessarily control the economy. You can control how hard you work. So if you work hard, but a footnote now, and you learn AI, or you surround yourself as a leader with people who know AI, and I'm not talking about the chat GPT AI, I'm talking about the real substantive AI, you will be able to outwork any other leader out there. And the last thing is stay humble. And I've always understood this phrase to be so true. Leadership does not give you the right to command, but it gives you the privilege to serve. And I'll say that again. Leadership does not give you the right to command. It gives you the leadership, the opportunity to serve. And I think if you serve as a leader rather than command as a leader, your troops are going to follow you. So those are my suggestions to the leadership coming up in our company.
That was great. It really was. Neil, do you want me to repeat the question, or?
No. I was just trying to think. The three-legged stool, I was going to come up with maybe an octopus in mind, and 8 legs. I think for me, what I've seen over the 35 plus years is to be proactive. I think it's a pretty easy statement to say, but what do you mean be proactive? But I find so many, so many people, if they're just being reactionary, they're not thinking what's coming down the road, they're not looking far enough down the road, then you can't anticipate, and then you can't plan for both opportunities and the challenges that are going to come at you on that road. And a lot of people that are reactionary are just not successful. So I think that it's a simple thing is to, okay, I got to be proactive. So I'm going to go into this board meeting. Have I prepared? Maybe back to Wayne, like hard work. Have I prepared for that board meeting? Am I just going to sit there and not be present? Or am I going to, think about that board meeting before I entered that room, think about the information, be prepared to be more outgoing, asking questions and thinking about where the direction of that board in that example should be. I think that to me is been one of the biggest areas that I've seen the people that are successful. Back to kind of characterizing the dream big. Somebody who's dreaming big is thinking out down the road, and that to me is proactive, thinking about the future, thinking about what is going to come on the horizon. So that would be the big lesson or thing for leadership, to make sure that they think about it as they start their day and try to advance their career wherever they may be.
Awesome. Awesome. Do we have any questions from the audience?
I can't believe a lawyer and accountant aren't, I mean, this is the sexiest panel at the conference.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Wayne, and thank you, Neil. Greatly appreciate you being here, of course, and committing yourselves to the Walton Group of Companies.